Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic, Known Classics. This is episode number 2020 and Doubleshot number 1914. Yes, 2020. Yeah, like the year everybody hates because we were forced to wear masks because of a virus. Yes. But look at the number of the episode. There's nothing to do with it at all. Nope. Alright. Now, these two trades about to review here are the final trades review for these two crossovers. You thinking, really? Last ones? Oh, yeah. Definitely. One I kind of knew about. The other one I had to do a little research. I figured, yeah, I've covered pretty much everything for this one. So first up, we have King in Black, Return of the Valkyries. This collects the 4-issue miniseries of the same title, plus some pages from New Moon Special Edition, which basically features one of the characters, Danny Moonstar, where she actually becomes a Valkyrie for the first time, which they revisited that in 2010. Now, here's a fun fact about this miniseries. Did you know this series actually counted as part of the numbering for Jane Foster Valkyrie? Yes, it does. As a matter of fact, it's considered issues 11 to 14 of that very series. Well, it's because basically the same guy who writes it wrote that series, Jason Aaron. Now, does he get co-writer like he did this book? No. Actually, he does. It's Tom Torren Garabek with Nina Barak on the artwork. Mostly put for this miniseries, we start out with basically Jane Foster with the Spirits of the Century, who got killed off in issue 1 by Cole, who... The thing is, apparently Donny Coe decided to repeat something that Brian Michael Bendis did back in 2005 by having, in that book, we had the Century drag the carnage of space and rip him in half. Try to have deja vu 16 years later, but instead, Century gets ripped in half and basically causing a second ever death in comics. Yes, second ever death. So... we mostly just have Jane Foster escorting Century to Valhalla because he's a warrior. And that's last scene of the Century. And to date, it's been like a year since the miniseries came out. No, he's not come back yet. So then we see, get this. We see the in-universe debut of... we see Danny Moose obviously become Valkyrie again. There's actually 3 Valkyries this one. And then we see the in-universe debut of the Tessa Thompson Valkyrie. Yes, I happen to... now, this version did technically appear in Exiles, but this was technically the first time that it appeared. This one appeared. And also, this you might find interesting about this one. Apparently, like the movie version, she is a lesbian. Yeah, they keep that particular plot point from the movie. Not really sure why they included this version for, but they call her name is Runa. And yes, she's based on the Tessa Thompson version. Yeah, and this book here was her debut appearance. And apparently she was the first person to hold Thor's axe before he got it. And mostly put for this book, it just basically Jane Foster putting back together the Valkyries, while also dealing with, well, the threat of Null. Yes, that's most of the plot of this miniseries. Now, I do enjoy the fact that of course, she also appearance by Lady Sif, who took up her brother's position after he got killed off in the Jane Foster book. He got killed in issue 2. How did he die? Bullseye stole his sword and stabbed him. I am not kidding about that. That is how Jason Aaron decided to have Heimdall, one of the most well-known Asgardians in our comic history, and he gets killed by freaking Bullseye, a character created by Marv Wolfman. So you have a character created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby got killed off by a character created by Marv Wolfman. Yeah, despite the fact this is technically a tie-in to King in Black, it's mostly like a side quest, but it's done really well in here. And this is only in case you're curious though, is Jason Aaron's only contribution to King in Black. No, he does do the tie-in for I think he does tie-in for Avengers. Because I'm trying to think, I think he did do some other stuff with King in Black. Basically some small scale stuff per se. Excuse me. There was a Beta Rebuild miniseries, but that had nothing to do with it at all. Let's see. For books that are Jay Snaren books, I think aside from this one, I don't think there's any other thing he worked on. No. Oh wait, there is technically one other book aside from this one I haven't covered yet, and that's The Union. And you might think, wait, I thought you just say you covered everything. I thought I did. It turns out basically the only thing else with the cover for is The Union. Yeah. Let me take a look and see if in fact that let's see. Well, I thought I covered everything for it, but apparently I did miss one thing. This book. Yeah, apparently there's still one more book left to go for King in Black. But for miniseries, yeah, this technically is the only one that's a tie into it. But there is also The Union. But only the first two issues are tied into it, so that could be covered at some other point. But for the main miniseries, this is the last one. Yep. And the thing about this book, it does lead to another series. Oh yeah, it does. It leads into, get this, the Mighty Valkyries. Yep, that's what this book leads to. And you're thinking, really? So you have a 4-issue miniseries that leads to another book, Mighty Valkyries, which, like in the case of this book, does continue the numbering. And that book is only 5 issues. You have one of those Aftermath books that Marvel published, and you might be curious though, did Jason write that one too? Yes, he did. As a matter of fact, most same creative team, I think the only thing they changed was the artist. But mostly, really good book here. I thought I was going to be having my final thoughts on this particular event, but no, I still have one more thing up the cover. But this book is really good. Give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Alright, this one, it's definite for this one. We have not King in Black. We have Infinity, the Hunt / Heist. Now, 2 miniseries. Now, I did check for this one. There is nothing left. This is the last in the cover for this crossover. Unlike King of Black, where I missed 1 miniseries. This is the last one. This, of course, this trade collects both miniseries here. Now, of course, the Heist issues, that series by Frank Terry, worked by Al Barino with, it does the first reissue, Pat Alfie. The last issue is done by the same artist with Ron Beachies, Neil Edwards, and Hiroko Damages. Matt Knott does The Hunt. That's all. The artwork is done mostly by Steven Sanders. The artwork cover art for that one is done by Sylvia Parin. For Heist, it's done by Ali Garza and RJ Mosa. This is issue 1. The rest of it's done by Alberino and Peter President. Now, the Heist is mostly put a group villains basically like, okay, let's just have these group villains come together to have the one particular big plan. The Avengers are in space. Let's plan a heist. Let's rob the Avengers Tower. Yes, let's rob Avengers Tower while Avengers are in space fighting, well, fighting of all people, Thanos and his force on other planets. Yep, inside of issue 4 where the heist actually plan happens. And what did they plan this deal? Iron Man armors, of course. Yes, Iron Man armors. There's even joke about an armor with a nose, which I thought that was so funny. And that one got, and apparently they decided to steal these things and sell them to the highest bidder. Taskmaster got his hands on the one with nose, which was so hilarious. But in the end, these villains are captured. And the one thing interesting about this miniseries, it reveals that Donald Gill, aka the Blizzard, was outed as a human, and he has to hang out with the humans basically right afterwards. Okay, The Hunt is a take on the Contest of Champions crossover. Basically, have various schools fight each other, which somehow indirectly involves the events of, well, Infinity per se, and it's mostly set at the Avengers Academy. Yep, and that's mainly the gist of this one. Now, sadly, by the end of this miniseries, this would be the last time that we actually would see, kind of, when the last time we see the Avengers Academy itself, because not long after this, the place basically stopped operating. Yeah. So apparently the last special appearance of Avengers Academy was in the final issue of Avengers Undercover. But that was... Now, they do mention here that the students have gone missing. That was thanks to Avengers Arena. Which took them to issue 13 and finally realized, oh yeah, our students got missing. But yeah, even after this, the Avengers Academy would pop up in Humanity The Awakening 2-issue miniseries. One issue of Young Avengers, an issue of All New X-Men, and a few issues of Avengers Undercover, and that's it. That's all basically they did right after the Hunt came out. So, in case you're curious though, what else is left to cover for Avengers Academy? Because I've pretty much covered like almost everything related to it by now, you probably think. Not really. There's still also Ant-Man the Wasp, that miniseries. I Am an Avenger. Well, for the main book per se, there's actually just one story left, and that's the graduation stuff. But in the case of this, both miniseries are really good. I give them both a 9.5 out of 10. Now, this one I can definitely say I have officially done with Infinity. Yeah, that was the last thing I had to cover because everything else has been covered. There's nothing else left. Excuse me. Final thoughts on the Infinity crossover. Can you believe this crossover came out roughly 9 years ago? Yes, 9 years ago. In my honest opinion, this event was a heck of a lot better than Avengers vs. X-Men. Because, well, it's them fighting an alien invasion. Well, where they go out to space. Now, the one thing that I had heard at the time was that some reviewers I was watching decided to drop the Avengers book by Jonathan Hickman because, like every issue, they went to space. Apparently, they stuck on the book long enough to notice that they actually dropped that by issue 24. Yes, by issue 24, that's all stopped. Yeah. Right after roughly 1 year of the book published, they stopped having the team go to space. Plus, it didn't happen very often. So, a lot of the issues were set on Earth. And they basically were used to, like, old school, like, really, really old school Avengers. Like, they think that they should go back to the mansion. I'm like, are they living basically back in 2002? It's like they live basically in the past, like, a decade prior to this. That's the problem with these particular reviewers. I haven't watched them sometime, mainly because I don't have time to watch them anymore. Because I'm watching other stuff, so I don't have time to watch them. And the thing is, I don't always agree with their opinion on comic books. There's actually one reviewer, Comic Uno. I disagree with her on basically how the book Howard the Duck. That was one book she and I disagreed on. She thought the book was terrible. I love Howard the Duck. The one Chip Zdarsky did. Yeah, she had disagreed on that, but I do enjoy a lot of her books that she did. But she did also have a thing where she reviewed pretty much all the issues of Spider-Girl, all 100 issues, on the YouTube channel. And apparently it took time to review these things from the actual trades themselves. Yeah, I haven't talked to them in years. I'm Facebook friends with a couple of them. I don't think they post anything on Facebook anymore. No, one I've occasionally talked to him. But last time I spoke to him, last time I commented or at least watched any videos like a year ago, and that was Mark Spire Slayer. Yes, he of course is a longtime Spider-Man fan. He didn't get into DC Comics until New 52 started. Same with basically another Mike I know of. But me, I basically enjoyed this event. Now, one person did agree with me that they said this event practically saved events for Marvel Comics. Okay, I can kind of buy that. I mean, they just had, well, not exactly. No, I think a lot of the events that before that were not all that good. Apparently, these people never read Chaos War. That was a really good event, or Siege. Yeah, probably from their perspective, probably did. Me, I thoroughly enjoyed reviewing this whole thing. I love reading Infinity. I think it's by far one of Marvel's best crossovers they ever did. I mean, yeah, it's mostly... Now, here's the strange thing about the story, is that basically you get the full main story. You have to basically read... You have to get this hardcover book, which I do own, by the way, which collects the main mini series, all of the issues from Avengers and New Avengers. And apparently Avengers and New Avengers basically are there to fill in the gaps between the issues of the main mini series, along with basically Avengers coming against the tide. Yeah, that's your main story there. And basically these two books here did feel like side quests mostly, but you don't exactly miss anything really major. It's like no major plot threads really here. It's just basically everybody reacting to a bunch of alien spaceships pop up over the city of New York, which was also filled pages of Thunderbolts for like an entire story arc basically dedicated to this one. And fun fact, that story was also the first story Charles Schultz did for Thunderbolts. I wasn't fan of the artwork per se, but I liked the story. Yep. But in the case of the two writers for this book, I have met Frank Cherry. Very nice guy to meet. Matt Knott. I've never met Matt Knott. But this is actually one of the very few books I reviewed that he wrote. I've also used one for Ninjak. And also for... there's also Just Like America, the third volume for it. A very underrated volume. And also Just Like America's Vibe. Yep. But yeah, that's particularly it for this particular review. Stay tuned for tomorrow for more One Piece and maybe my Comic Corner. Okay, next video. Bye.